ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवमांस श्रीरूपं सगृजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितां तां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनां सहितां कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्तो राधाकान्ता नमस्तुते तप्त कंचना गौरंगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पातरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाशादशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा. So we are in chapter third, titled Karma Yoga, and in last class we went up to verse number 9, where Krishna is sharing with Arjun and telling him that he is qualified for Niskam Karma and not for Jnana Yoga. So before we get to the next section, or let me give a summary and then we can see if there is any questions anybody has. So meanwhile, you can think if there is anything that you have while we are going through the summary. So first two verse, Krishna still continues with his confusion. And the cause of confusion is that in second chapter, very clearly Krishna has established that Buddhi Yoga, Jnana Yoga is higher than Niskam Karma Yoga or Karma Yoga. But still he is asking Arjun to fight, and fighting is Karma Yoga. So Arjun is confused, saying that, my dear Lord, you just told, you just taught me that Buddhi Yoga is better. Then why don't I just follow the path of Buddhi Yoga? So here, Arjun's understanding of Buddhi Yoga or Gyan Yoga was that he wanted to artificially renounce. I don't want to fight. Rather, I just want to be, Gyan Yogi. Then Krishna says, Arjun, there are two type of person: Karma Yogi, Gyan Yogi. Gyan Yogena Sankhya Nam, Karma Yogena Yogi Nam. And they have different adhikar. A person who is entitled to perform prescribed duty, that person should not uh, try to pretend and become the Gyan Yogi. Because uh, prematurely you cannot jump the ladder, right? You have a vritti, you have a desire, you have a nature, and you are going to act as per your nature. It's not even a single moment where one is not going to be in the action. So we act as per our nature. But artificially, you try to restrain your senses by taking the artificial mean and not having the real control, which means you try to act as a Gyan Yogi and trying to renounce, but still the taste is there. Still, you have the desire to enjoy your senses, and you are pretending that your senses are purified and you do not have taste. By acting that, you are becoming a mityachar. On the other hand, a person who is performing the karma yoga with controlling his senses without having any attachment is better. So you think that by renouncing you will become better. That's wrong. You become better by acting the way you are. That's very important thing. So pretending that I can renounce, no, you cannot, because you are not qualified to do that. So it's better that you do your prescribed duty. So whenever we are talking about prescribed duty, we are talking about varnashram dharma. So you act for your varnashram dharma. That would be better for you. But here is the thing: you act, but act in the mood of detachment. And in that mood, if you work for Vishnu, then you are not going to have any sheen. You'll be free from any sheen. So, up to this point, Krishna is very factually presenting to Arjun that he should act as a Niskam Karma Yogi, giving fruits of all the result to Vishnu, and that way is not going to have any sheen upon him. So here we finished, and I would like to give a pause and see if there is any discussion, any questions anybody has, any clarification.
I think,
Um,
please go ahead. Prabhuji, I think you are saying something. Please go.
oh, okay. Yeah, in the second chapter, Prabhuji, when this Karma Yoga or non-fruitive action was introduced, I think in verse 240, um, Neha Vikramanasasti, at that time, let me see, 239, 239 purport, something is mentioned. I'm okay, yeah, 239 purport. It says, Buddhi Yoga is clearly explained in chapter 10, verse 10. And till then, here in this, the previous sentence is, consequently, Krishna will now tell him about working process in Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga, or in other words, practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. And Buddhi Yoga is more clearly explained in chapter 10. And when we go to chapter 10, 10, I'm sorry, I'm jumping here, but
Yeah, no problem.
um, so in chapter 10, 10 verse purport, Prabhupada ji nicely explains the difference between different types of yogas. Um, 10, 10, okay, sorry. Tesham Sadata Yuktanam, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Says, uh, it says in the second paragraph, when a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. And when he knows the goal is Krishna and it takes pleasure in mental speculation under to understand Krishna, he is acting in Jnana Yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting as Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga.
Uh-huh.
So Bhakti Yoga and Buddhi Yoga is equated here, and Karma Yoga is differentiated with the slight tendency to for fruitive results.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, so actually, uh, this is my understanding that Arjun is getting confused when he says Buddhi Yoga. It means that being idle. Buddhi means just use intelligence,
So
not.
Gyan there, the Gyan Yoga.
But Gyan Yoga and Buddhi Yoga are different, right?
So that's the confusion you have, right, Prabhu?
Uh, yeah, actually, the first part, the Sankhya Yoga
Uh-huh.
mentioned in the first part of the second chapter
Yeah.
is analytical study. Can we brand that as Gyan Yoga uh, anyway? If that is Sankhya Yoga is described, and then Buddhi Yoga is described.
Uh-huh.
250 says Buddhi Yukto Jahati hai,
Uh-huh.
Ubhay Sukrite Dushkrite. So it describes Buddhi Yoga. Now, in the confusion with Arjun, I'm trying to
Uh-huh.
understand,
Yeah,
Prabhuji,
yeah. Yes.
is he's thinking that okay, you said Buddhi Yoga, that means it implies, or he assumed that no action,
That's
uh,
right.
right? Okay.
So Buddhi, you know, Gyan Yoga, in Gyan Yoga, basically for a person who has purified their consciousness and or Gyan Yogi, for them, there is no Varnashram Dharma.
Hmm.
That's very important point to be noted. So a Gyan Yogi is fully renounced, okay? And he has no Varnashram activity to be done. So Varnashram activity is only for Sakam Karma Yogi and Niskam Karma Yogi. For bhakti yogi and for Gyan Yogi, there is no Varnashram Dharma. You don't, if you are a devotee, Varnashram Dharma will not give you anything to you because you are already engaged in a higher activity, higher consciousness, in higher activity. Okay, so bhakti, following the limbs of bhakti, 9 limbs of bhakti is not part of the Varnashram,
Mm.
right? And Gyan Yogi is also not engaged in Varnashram Dharma. That's very important to note it. Okay, he has renounced. Okay, but he is also not fully Bhakti Yogi. Prabhu, are you
Mm.
getting it?
I'm trying to
So he is
understand.
not getting he is not following the 9 limbs of bhakti. So Krishna is not saying, when he says Bhakti Yoga, he's not talking about that, Buddhi Yoga, where you follow 9 limbs of bhakti and don't care for the Varnashram Dharma. Here, strictly it's referring to Gyan Yoga, which means you don't follow the Varnashram Dharma and you renounce.
Mm. Okay.
So that part is basically answered here. So here for Gyan Yoga, what's happening is that when I say the word Buddhi is Gyan, basically, literally Gyan Yoga, which is
Mm.
going to be explained in the 4th chapter. Transcendental
Mm.
knowledge is Gyan Yoga chapter. Where, so Arjun is thinking Gyan Yogi, Karm Sannyas, he's thinking that Karm Sannyasa. That's what his understanding is for Gyan Yogi.
Yeah. Okay.
That leave the work now. And
Mm.
I don't have to, my prescribed duty as a Kshatriya is to fight. So renouncing that is Gyan Yoga. That's what he's thinking.
Mhm.
And Krishna is saying you cannot renounce because artificially you try to pretend like a Gyan Yogi, Raso Api Raso Arjam, but still you have the taste, then it's Mithyachar. So you are qualified to follow your Varnashram Dharma, but follow your Varnashram Dharma in satisfaction of Vishnu. So
Mhm.
you act for your Varnashram Dharma, karmanyavadhikarestu mafalesu kadachana, but don't worry for the result and act for the pleasure of Vishnu. That would be, so that's what exactly Krishna is recommending Arjun to do here. That you be a Niskam Karma Yogi, which means you follow the Varnashram Dharma, and the result of that Varnashram Dharma is that you will be purified. And that purification will lead to liberation. That will lead to higher stage. So that's what, Krishna is saying here. He's not saying that you should be taking the karma sannyasa. Prabhuji, helping what I say?
Yes, yes, it helped me. Thanks.
So if you see this verse here, Gyan Jogena Sankhya Nam, Karm Jogena Jogi Nam. So what you said, Gyan Jogena Sankhya Nam. Gyan Yogi is basically going with the analytical study. Okay. So he is not going to follow Varnashram. Varnashram, he's beyond Varnashram. Okay. He has made enough purification to not follow the Varnashram. But Karm Jogena Joginam. But Karm Jogi is the one who is engaged in Varnashram Dharma. But Varnashram Dharma, you can engage as a Sakam Karma Yogi or you can engage as a Niskam Karma Yogi. Sakam Karma Yogi, if you engage, the result of that engagement is fruitive activity, higher results, right? Which means going to the heavenly planet. But Krishna is saying, no, you are engaging in the Varnashram Dharma, but you should engage for pleasure of Vishnu. And that's Niskam Karma Yoga. He's not saying that you should engage in Sakam Karma Yoga and do the Varnashram Dharma to go to the heavenly planet and enjoy the results of it. So strictly Krishna is, asking Arjun to forbidden the Jnana Yoga, which is Karma Sannyasa, completely rejecting, not following the Varnashram. Jnana Yogi can, and we'll see here in next class, Jnana Yogi don't have to do Varnashram Dharma. Bhakta also do not have to do. And in verse number 16 and 17, this will be more clarified. Same thing that you ask in consequent section. But that's the main discussion here. Be Niskam Karma Yogi and give the results of your action for the pleasure of Vishnu. But not that Buddhi Yoga, which is basically not following the Varnashram Dharma, but also not leaving the 9 limbs of bhakti, right? So you and I are bhakti yogas. We are bhakti yogis, okay? So Varnashram Dharma does not apply to you and I. Because we are engaged in following the higher limb, we are engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Interesting.
So Varnashram Dharma will not do much good to you. You are, and we'll see that 16, 17 verse will tell that you are good even without following the Varnashram Dharma, as long as you are following the pure devotional service. But for sure, we are not, our state is mixed, right? Right? Our state is mixed. But for perfect bhakti yoga, does not have to follow Varnashram Dharma.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about pure devotees, Prabhuji, but we are not pure. We still have fruitive desires. I mean,
so that's what Krishna is saying here. The teaching that is going on here is for us. So it's basically, the main essence is that artificially don't jump the ladder.
Yeah.
Don't, leave the prescribed duty. Because you are Kshatriya.
Got it. Yeah.
And you, as a Kshatriya, your duty is to fight. And now you are saying that I'm going to be sannyasi. That's what he's meant. Jnana Yogi literally means here, Arjuna wants to be sannyasi. He wants to say that I got it. So you said Jnana Yoga is better. And that means renounce all the action. So I'm not going to fight. I'm done. I obey your order. Let's get out of this battlefield. We are done with the fighting. That's what exactly, Arjun understanding is.
Yeah. One of the purports, I don't know, may help.
Yeah, continue, Prabhu, please.
Swadharma is defined as there are 2 types of Swadharma, one for liberated people and one for non-liberated people like us, me. So, liberated people, they can do devotionals sorry, I'm not telling rightly. For Swadharma for non-liberated person is to follow Varnashram Dharma and become purified. Once they become purified, they can get liberated.
Yes,
And once
Prabhu.
they get liberated, then their Swadharma is different, pure Krishna conscious activity.
Yeah. Bhakti for Swadharma of a Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, and Bhakta has different. Yes. You're right, Prabhu. You're right. 100% right. So still you have some confusion somewhere?
No, I'm clear. This discussion was helpful. Thank you.
Hari Hari. Anybody has any other? Santa Mataji, are you raising hand or you just by default?
No, Prabhuji. I raised a hand.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, Prabhu. So here Buddhi Yoga is always referring to Gnana Yoga, and we have Karma Yoga. But I remember in the second chapter, while we are discussing the Karma Yoga, like Satkam Karma, Nishkam Karma, where we mentioned it is Buddhi Yoga. So just clarification. So Buddhi Yoga sometimes refers as Nishkam Yoga, or it's always Gnana Yoga. Just wanted to the terminology.
No, Buddhi Yoga is never Buddhi in in Hindi or in Sanskrit, you can say Gyan. Gyan is Buddhi, okay? But literally Buddhi Yoga that Krishna is talking about in second chapter, the literal meaning of the Buddhi Yoga is higher stage of Niskam Karma Yoga or devotional service. So Niskam Karma Yoga, in Niskam Karma Yoga, we have two stages. One stage is for, so you are engaged in the Varnashram Dharma and you are acting for purification. Okay, that's also Niskam Karma Yoga. But sufficient purification has been achieved by a devotee, then he is acting for the liberation. That's also Niskam Karma Yoga. While you are engaged in Varnashram Dharma, and that part is Bhakti. So that part of Niskam Karma Yoga is Buddhi Yoga, and 9 limbs of devotional service Buddhi Yoga. So Krishna in second chapter using the word Buddhi Yoga because this is the yoga of a intelligent being, a person whose intelligence is fixed. And we talked about, what is the quality of a person whose buddhi is achala. So Buddhi Yoga do not mean in any sense Jnana Yoga. Higher stage of Niskam Karma Yoga, which is also Bhakti Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Did you get it, Mataji? Make a note. These are the terms, will confuse once a while. So very clearly, just Karma Yoga has two parts. So you have to very clearly say Sakam Karma Yoga or Niskam Karma Yoga. Sakam Karma Yoga is done for purification. Niskam Karma Yoga in the beginning is also done for purification, but later it is done for liberation. But in both Sakam Karma Yoga and Niskam Karma Yoga, the action that is done by performer is Varnashram Dharma. They are engaged in Varnashram Dharma. Jnana Yogi or Buddhi Yogi is not engaged in Varnashram Dharma. So Buddhi is little bit confusing because Jnana and Buddhi is synonyms. But whenever I am using here the word Buddhi, let me use the word Jnana here from straight. It's just Karma Sannyasa, just rejecting. Okay, because by Sankhyic understanding, by knowing the Sankhya, that soul is higher than gross matter, a Jnana Yogi can prohibit himself to interfere with any activity that is of lower class, material activity. He can forbidden himself. But that's what in second chapter also we heard that there are people who pretend to be Jnana Yogi, Raso Api Raso Varjam. They artificially Nidaharasya Dehinam. They try to control their hunger by not eating. But whenever they see food, they are, jumping after it. So the taste has remained because they have not artificially, they have not naturally removed the intensity of sensual pleasure. Making sense? So Jnana Yogi does not have A person who is perfect Gyan Yogi does not have taste to indulge in mundane activity, in the material activity. That's why he does not have to perform the Varnashram Dharma, because he understood that Varnashram Dharma will take me to the fruitive activity, and that would give me some result, and that result is going to be temporary. So by Gyan, he understands that. And Buddhi Yogi, although he does not understand that in the very beginning, but he has a firm faith that Buddhi Yoga is the highest process by Guru and Krishna Mercy. So although the Buddhi Yogi might not have a sufficient perfection, but he is engaged into the right path. So here literally, whenever we are talking, we are mostly talking about Jnana Yoga. Is it clear? Say yes or no, if you are there. Mataji. Okay, so when we are saying here Mithyachari, literally Krishna is saying to Arjun that don't pretend to be Gyan Yogi while you are still going to have taste for kingdom, taste for enjoying the things. Then you are better to perform Karma Yoga than becoming sannyas. Gyan Yoga, mostly, we use the word sannyas, artificial, I mean, not artificially, but karma sannyas. I have nothing to do with anything. I know anything that I touch, every action has equal and opposite reaction is going to give me reaction, and that reaction will bind me. I don't wanna. But not necessarily he is engaged in devotional service. Okay, so that's what Arjun is trying to tell here. Oh, I understand now. Makes sense. Let me be Gyan Yogi. Get out of here. So that's not what is recommended here. Rather, Krishna is asking Arjun that be a Niskam Karma Yogi and give the fruit of that result to Vishnu. What will happen? Sah yagya prajah sristva purovacha prajapatihi anena pravishyadham isha o astvaista kamadhuk. So what he's saying that because Vishnu is the creator or creator of all living being. And when he created, he said, all living being, now you get all of your desirable things by this yagya. Go, be happy, and achieve the liberation by this yagya process. So now Krishna is explaining that Lord created this mankind, and for them to achieve happy. So what is happy? Is it fruitive activity or it's non-fruitive activity? Here still we are talking about the fruitive activity. They were given the process of yagya, and how they can do the process of yagya? Devan bhavaya tanena te deva bhavayantu va prasparam bhavayantah shreya pram avap yashyata. So prasparam bhavayantah, you go and in a very harmonious way, O living being, perform the yagya and please those demigod. And when those demigods are pleased through the process of yagya, they will provide you the necessity. Istan bhogan hi o deva dashyante yagya bhavitah tayar dattan apradhya aibhayo yo bhunkate astena yevasha. But one who enjoys such gift, bhunkate, one who is enjoying such gift without offering to demigod, they are certainly a thief. So you are getting the you are getting the results, and we'll talk more. What is that? Like rain coming from the demigod by doing the yagya. So from that rain, you get the grain, and the grain is food for you. So you eat the food which is coming by the process of sacrifice, yagya, that you perform. To whom? To demigod. But you are not acknowledging them. You are not giving them any acknowledgement. Thank you. Then Krishna says that that type of action is very much acting as a thief. And by eating offer food, the food that is coming from that rain, which is given by demigod, if that food is not offered to Krishna, then we are merely eating the sin only. Very powerful verse. I highlighted this verse. This is another beautiful verse that teaches us why we should offer the food. Yagya sistasinah santo muchyante sarvaklevishaha. Bhunkte means to eat. Bhunkte tau agham papa e pachanti atmakaranat. So you are eating the food, bhunkte, but you are not acknowledging to the personality who are making it happen. Then it's merely eating the sheen. And then here is the very powerful concluding verse that very much summarize what we have talked from 10 to 13. In fact, 10 to 13 very nicely is again summarized through verse 14 and 15. That says, Anad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anasambhava yagyad bhavati parjanyo yagya karma samudbhava karma brahmo udbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarva gatam brahma nityam yagne pratishthitam. Manoj Prabhu, can you read the translation?
14, yes.
14, 15. All living body, just on the slide, Prabhu. Please read on the screen. Like all living.
All living bodies subsist on food grains. Grains are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yagna. Yagna is born of prescribed duties. Prescribed duties are mentioned in the Vedas. Vedas are directly manifested from the Lord. Consequently, the all-pervading Supreme Lord is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice.
Yeah. And then Krishna further says in verse number 16, a person who does not follow the cycle of sacrifice, he is basically very much engaged in sinful activity. So here is the cycle of sacrifice. What it says, let's start from somewhere. So let's start from food grain. So living entity eats food grains. Food grain is coming because of rain. Rain is coming from the clouds, which is given by demigod, and the rain is coming through the process of sacrifice, yagya. And that yagya is part of prescribed duty. All living beings, they are supposed to engage in yagya. That's prescribed duty, right? Living being has prescribed duty. Varnashram dharma, it's not being talked about devotee. Samanya living being. And the rules of Varnashram dharma is coming from Veda. And Veda is Krishna's word, coming from Krishna. And when living entity eats food, when they offer that food to Supreme Lord, then this cycle is complete. So here is another way to look at this cycle of sacrifice. A human being who receives food grain, he may think that, oh, it's coming from cloud, it's coming from demigod. So they will keep their relationship just here, right? But another person will say, no, no, no. This rain is coming upon us because we are doing sacrifice. Beautiful pastime, Govardhan pastime, right? All the Govardhanvasi wants to do, want to worship Govardhan. And this sacrifice is part of the prescribed duty. And then this prescribed duty, this Varnashram Dharma is coming from Veda. But don't forget that Yajna Purusha, the supreme person, is Krishna. So the source of in everything is basically Krishna. So when living entity receives food, they must offer that food to Krishna, knowing that the food has come from food grain. I had food grain because there was rain. It rained because some yagya was performed. Why yagya was performed? Because it's part of the prescribed duty. From where prescribed duty is coming from Veda. Who has given the Veda? Krishna has given the Veda. So, well, then why don't we give everything to Krishna? So this is cycle of sacrifice. Anything so far before we get into the next segment? Is it clear so far? The cycle of sacrifice, because this is something that we normally ask in the exam also. That please mention what is the order. So anad bhavanti bhutani, all living bodies subsists on food grain. Parjanyad anah sambhava, grains are produced from rain. Yagyad bhavati parjanyo, rains are produced from the performance of yagya. Yagya karma samudbhava. Yagya is part of the prescribed duty. Karma brahmo udbhavam vidhi, and the prescribed duties are mentioned in Veda. And who is the father of Veda? Dear Lord Sri Krishna is the father of Veda. So if you break this cycle, then you become karmakandi. Very important point to be noted. If you see only these two connection or three connection or four connection, you are karmakandi. But if you are doing prescribed duty, not following the 9 limbs of bhakti, you are following this yagya, which is part of the prescribed duty, and offering the result to Krishna, then you are niskam karmi. Is it clear, Prabhu? What is the doubt?
The doubt is, Prabhu, where do demigods fit in this circle?
Demigod fits here. The yagya is done for demigods or for Vishnu. But Param, Param Yagya Purushart, you saw in one of the verse I'm highlighting it, that Param Yagya Purusha is Bhagavan Sri Krishna. But sometimes people, depending on where they are in their purification, they may not go down to Krishna. But even if they don't go down to Krishna, it's recommended for them that they should perform the prescribed duty, which means they must be engaged in the process of yagya.
So the rain clouds are coming from demigods. Can we say that?
Yeah, yeah. But ultimately, it's coming from Krishna.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right,
But,
right. It's coming from demigod. Yeah. I mean, there is no doubt about it, right? Demigods are empowered personality. They are the department head, right? Right, Prabhu?
Yeah, yes, yes, that is true. Yeah. Mm.
So there is no denial that it's coming from them. But one should also know that they are doing their duty. They are
Yeah, so
like,
previous verse in 3:12 when it says, um, but one who enjoys such gifts without offering them to demigods in
uh-huh,
return are certainly thief.
uh-huh. Means the
It,
one who is not doing yagya.
so I'm a thief when I'm not a owner and I'm taking something from the other person,
Uh-huh,
right? So in this case, the demigods are representatives of Lord Vishnu and they are holding his property.
uh-huh,
They are taking from demigods
uh-huh,
without acknowledging it, and
uh-huh.
therefore they are thieves.
But if you acknowledge Krishna,
Mhm.
व्यवसायत्मिका बुद्ध एक कुरुनंदन,
Yeah.
श्रद्धा शब्द विश्वास कहे दृढ़ निश्चय, कृष्णा भक्ति कैले सर्व कार्य सिद्धि आया. I mean, how clear it could be than this verse
Mm.
that Krishna, by worshipping Krishna, we have worshipped everybody. Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarvakaro Siddhyaya. We don't, as a devotee, although we do, but it's part of the ritualistic activity, but it's not prescribed for duty for devotee to really engage in any prescribed duty because you are engaged in devotional service. So you are not thief. We are not thief because we are directly, acknowledging the root source. We don't eat anything that's not offered to Krishna. We are engaged in highest most yagya, Harinam Sankirtan. That's yagya, is it not?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So
For
Nama
few,
Sankirtan is not the yagya.
no, I don't disagree with that. But what I'm saying is, I may not be following that 100% of the time. Maybe some percentage of time I'm following
So that's different thing. It's
it.
person to person, right? But as a devotee, are we not engaged in yagya? All the
Yes.
time. We are always doing yagya. Always yagya. We do yagya also, right? When we get initiated or many festival we do yagya also. But Harinam Sankirtan is yagya, chanting name of Krishna is yagya. Any action that we do, we try to give the fruits of that action to Krishna. That is yagya. So you are not the thief. You are doing it. If we break this cycle somewhere, the one who has accepted the position of the Supreme Lord, offering the food to Krishna, then they are maintaining the cycle. They're not breaking the cycle. Sometimes I'm not sure what is that sometimes, but yeah. But ultimately, it's for the people who are even not karma yogi. So through this point, Krishna is trying to say that even if you look at this way, ultimately I'm the real benefactor.
Yeah.
But here is another very encouraging thing that we have to see. So even if you are engaged doing the prescribed duty, but if that duty is being done to please Krishna, then we'll hear later. Maharaj Janak made his life perfect by engaging in prescribed duty. So even Krishna, as long as you are accepting this cycle, you are aware, then you are not doing karma kandik activity. I saw Jyoti Mataji had raised hand. I want to have some discussion, make sure that things are clear or what I'm trying to, otherwise, I think that I'm explaining thing, trying to give you the concept. That's the one of the purpose of this course. We have heard a lot, karma yoga, jnana yoga, but we ourselves should have very clear Karma Yoga itself has two parts, Sakam Karma Yoga or Niskam Karma Yoga. Just by saying Karma Yoga, we are not saying the whole thing, right? So you have to say, when we are engaged in Sakam Karma Yoga, a devotee who is educated in Sastric understanding, he'll understand. Prabhu is talking about Sakam Karma Yoga, and the result of that Sakam Karma Yoga is fruitive result. Prabhu is talking about Niskam Karma Yoga, and the result of that is purification. So we have to, be technically more kind of precise with our statement. That's why I'm trying to make sure that some of the verbiage and words that are being used is not confusing you. It's helping you understand some of the concept. And if not, then please ask. We have, group of devotees here who can, think about it and come up with the right answer. So yes, Mataji, Jyoti Mataji, what you have?
Oh, Hare Krishna. I
Hare
think
Krishna.
you answered my question. In my mind, I was thinking, because whenever we think of a yagya, I always think of, like there being like fire. And, I guess that fire has to do with the purification as well. And even in Bhakti Yoga, where we would be offering the prasad to Prabhu. So that's where the sacrifice is. Just like I know like the Arya Samajis, like they put they're still offering things in the fire. So I guess you kind of answered my question. I don't think my question was very relevant. But my question was just going to be like about, when I think about a yagya, I always just think of a fire, and I never really thought about it as a sacrifice.
Yeah, Kali Kale Nama
Yeah.
Rupe, Kali Kale Nama Rupe Nahi Aradharma. The highest, most religious activity we have in the age of Kali is chanting the name of Krishna. Highest, most. For this age, for age of Kali, the highest, most process that's given, which is more impactful, which is more critical also, is chanting name of Krishna. In age of Kali, yagya is not a prescribed process.
Okay.
So yagya was the prescribed process in Satyuga Prabhu, right, Manohar Prabhu? And then Treta Yuga had, Treta Yuga had, yagya. Satyuga had tapasya, austerity. And Treta had, yagya. Dwapar had mandir puja, temple worship. And in Kali Yuga, Harinam Sankirtanam. Kali Kale Nam Rupe Krishna Avatar. In the form of his holy name, Krishna has incarnated in the age of Kali. Good, good that you asked. So whenever we are engaged in any spiritual activity, and I can give you sometimes some idea, I have a presentation, how Nam is Yagya. Tongue is considered as a spoon. The mantra itself is the mantra that you chant. So it has all the component of yagya. But very good. Anybody has anything that they would like to ask?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have one quick question.
Yes, Prabhu.
So regarding the Bhakti Yoga versus the Karma Yoga, where we are talking about, I think you mentioned that Bhakti Yoga doesn't have the Varnasrama system. Varnasrama is not followed Bhakti Yoga. That's what you mentioned. Just I'm confused a little bit there.
So if you are engaged in a devotional service, and Krishna will tell later right after this, doing Varnashram Dharma or not doing, you are not going to get any additional benefit of engaging in Varnashram Dharma. If you are engaged in Saranam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. If you have, engage yourself in these 9 limbs of bhakti, then not necessarily you have to perform the Varnashram Dharma. It will not do any good to you.
So, but at least ashramas, Prabhuji, varnas, I understand as you are explaining, but ashramas.
Varnashram, the root, tira ved, tire guna visaya veda, nastara gunya bhava arjuna. The essence of Vedic teaching is to bring one to out of these gunas. But oh dear Arjun, you come out of this guna and become my devotional service. So a person who has taken the process of devotional service, he does not have to unnecessarily engage themselves in Varnashram Dharma, because Varnashram Dharma is for purification, right?
Yeah, but I'm trying to separate those two, Prabhuji, Varna and Ashramas. Varnas, I understand one is engaged in the Varnas, like there is no Varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, because this is a devotee, he's acting on the higher platform. But when it comes to the Ashramas, there are 4 Ashramas, right? Suppose, for example, we are in a Grahastha Ashrama, then it is like a gradual process. Maybe one may be taking the Vanaprastha and Sannyasa, so those are still there in our process, right? If one
Yeah, so I meant to literally say that prescribed duty. So in Bhakti, Prabhuji, prescribed duty, so mostly the duty that you have as Brahmin, Kshatriya has no importance.
Yes, that is clear. Yeah.
That's the main part I'm trying to say.
Okay, then ashramas maybe.
Now in ashrama for a bhakti is really not a difference. Have you studied Bhagavatam systematically? Ashram is really, you cannot say that Girhastha is, inferior than Brahmachari. Our Guru Maharaj has given a class on this one, and there is a lot of, reference in Shastra. So for a devotee, literally, it's just the ashram is a ashram where you belong to. But a Brahmachari or a Girhastha may be far superior bhakta than have you do you remember the story that is given in 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam? Durvasa Muni and
the Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj.
Okay. So what was I wanted you to say? So what was the ashram of the Amrish Maharaj?
Yeah, that he's in the Grahastha, but this Muni was in the exalted position, but still
exactly, Prabhuji. So if you are engaged, yes, we cannot. I'm not refuting the ashram, but if you are engaged in a devotional service and following the limb of bhakti, your advancement in Krishna consciousness is not dependent on your varna, Prabhuji, or your ashram. Although ashram is there, okay, but you are not Madhya Lila, 13th chapter, verse number 80. Naham vipro nacha narpatir. Have you heard this verse? Napi vaisyo na sudro, naham varani cha girhapatir, na banasto yatirva, kintu prodhyam nikhil pramananda, purnamrita vadher, gopi bhartau pad kamalayor, das anu da. Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So yeah, Sajan Mahaprabhu very clearly.
No, good. No, good. Ask. Yes. But does it help?
Yeah, yes.
So yes, it's there. But also not necessarily, although we understand, Prabhu, the hierarchy has nothing to do with advancement in Krishna consciousness. Normally, or it's not like, the order does not mean it's hierarchy or advancement of the Krishna consciousness, Prabhuji. So, Brahmachari, Girhastha, Banpasta, Sannyas not necessarily mean that this is the order of a spiritual advancement. You agree with me?
Yes.
Yes,
because
Prabhuji.
that's the example what you mentioned. Yeah.
Exact. Sometimes we think that this is order of a spiritual advancement, but no, it's just the ashram.
Yeah.
But a spiritual advancement can be, like, for example, one of the mistakes that we make in our society, there is a managerial line of authority and then there is a spiritual line of authority, right? Right, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Managerial line of authority is that temple president, and then governing body of commission, GBC, general supervisor. This is managerial line of authority. But we think that this is also a spiritual line of authority. GBC is advanced than general supervisor. General supervisor is advanced than temple president, and temple president is advanced than everybody else living in the congregation. That's the very simple understanding we have. Prabhuji, right or wrong? Correct me. But that's not true. This is managerial line of authority. A spiritual line of authority has nothing to do with this managerial line. A person who is doing nothing is not a Bhakti Sastri teacher, but will be very advanced, very powerful. Manohar Prabhu may be thousands times more advanced than I am, although I am this side. Right? So these things, and that's why we have to talk. These things we have to take separate. Separate. So spiritual advancement. So is it clear, Prabhu? Is it good enough?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's good enough.
So please don't.
One more thing connecting one is
yes, Prabhuji, yes.
Karma yoga between the Bhakti yoga and Karma yoga, as you nicely explained, the Nishkama Karma Yogi. That's what Krishna is explaining in the 9th verse. Yajnadhar karmano yatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. So, so if it is not the Varnashrama system, what is the main difference we can see between these two yogas to separate, Prabhuji? Karma yoga versus the Bhakti yoga?
Dharma yoga, you mean
karma yoga.
Following the prescribed route, karma yoga.
Karma yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga and Bhakti yoga. When where do you draw a line between these two yogas?
Okay, so let me see if I can pull out that slide. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, Prabhuji, sure. Let me see if I can find it. I'll bring it up. If I don't find it, I'll just talk myself. So 1 minute, Prabhuji. Good point. I think it was here. Let me see. Just Prabhuji, 1 minute.
Yeah, no problem, Prabhuji. Take it.
Okay, here, yeah. So stop sharing the screen. And I wanted to, show you something written. This is coming from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Are you seeing the screen, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, we see.
Okay. So Sakam Karma Yogi engage in Varnashram activity. Okay. And the overall, basically, results is going to be enjoy the fruits. That's the Sakam Karma Yoga. Are you seeing the screen?
Yes.
Niskam Karma Yoga is still engaged in Varnashram activity, but their goal is purification. Okay. But in Bhakti, we are not engaged in Varnashram activity. We are engaged in devotional activity, and goal is to please Krishna. So is it clear? I wanted to, instead of saying that, I wanted to see you. I wanted to show you so that you can understand. This is coming from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Okay. So SKKY is Sakam Karma Yoga, NKKY is Niskam Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. So in Bhakti Yoga, we are not engaged in Varnashram Dharma, and our goal is to please Krishna. But in Niskam Karma Yoga, we are engaged in Varnashram activity. Some part of that is purification, later part of that is liberation. But Sakam Karma Yoga is for fruitive activity. We know that, right? Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I see now, clearly, like in 12th chapter devotional service, Krishna many times says who pleases him. So that is related to the Bhakti Yoga, obviously. So the person is very dear to me, he mentioned in many verses.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what we like doing, Prabhuji. We, when we are talking about Bhakti Yoga, we are not talking about Varnashram Dharma. We are beyond of this Dharma. We are above this Dharma. But good. I think I'm getting some good questions. I like it. We want this type of discussion, Prabhuji. It's very good, because this will help clear some of these doubts and also understand what subject being spoken. So I think it's already 12 o'clock now. And we'll start from the verse number 17 next week. We can give maybe a few more minutes to have any doubt or any more clarification anybody need. Pina Mataji, do you have anything that you would like to share? How has been the learning overall?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Ji,
It's
Ji Mataji.
going good.
Good.
Last week I was not able to concentrate much. I was in practice. My son's wrestling match, so it was so nice. I could not understand anything. And I was looking at the video. I think you did not post it. Do you plan to
I have
post
posted it on YouTube. I think so. It should be on on our Google College web page. I think I did it. If not, I'll check it, Mataji.
Okay. Okay.
It should be there. If not, then I'll check it once again.
Yes, Prabhu.
Good.
Yeah, the chapter 3rd verse 3 is like very much stuck to me right now. Is like, it where it says the mind is never quiet. No, I think not even for a moment.
Verse number 5.
Yeah.
Nahi kasid sanam api jatu tishtati akarmakrit karyate hi avasah karma sarva prakriti gair gunay. That's the one,
Yeah.
Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. And also like it says like how helpless it is, like, if it is not helped with the knowledge, it will always like automatically engage into material activities. So, yeah.
Good point.
So association, like this kind of, association is really helping me a lot.
Yeah. There are 3 things, Mataji, the Shastra that we read, the mantra that we chant, and the association that we take. All these 3 things should nurture towards the same goal. So the book that we read should help us have the firm faith in Krishna. The mantra that we chant definitely is helping, and the association that we take. All of these 3 should help towards Krishna. If any one of these is taking us away, like for example, we are trying to be devotee of Krishna and we read book about some other personality and try to develop faith, then it will be hard. Or we are trying to be devotee of Krishna and try to associate with the person who are devotee of Ganesha or Shiva, it will be hard. So some of these things, if we watch, then our progress will be very fast towards Krishna. Very good point. Jyoti Mataji, raising hand. Manohar Prabhu, you can also sometime answer, okay? I don't have to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm open to both of your answers. I was gonna ask, like, so how does one self-realize their prescribed duties? Like, for example, like my mom is a Brahmin, my dad is a Kshatriya, and or that would be the Varna, right? But how do I self-realize what is my prescribed duty, or maybe for the other students, like how do they self-realize their prescribed duties?
Yeah, guru. There are other answer, but at this point, the most appropriate answer would be taking shelter of a spiritual master. Tad vedi panipatena paripasnena sunya updachanti te jnanam jnanis tatodarsina. And guru is of 2 types, Mataji. Shiksha guru and diksha guru. Shiksha guru is the person from whom we take the knowledge about Krishna consciousness. And diksha guru is the spiritual master who gives us the holy name, who gives us the shelter. So a person who we are aspiring to, that person who we should aspire to, that's also the question. A person who know me, who can help me, who understand my conditioning, where I am, and then give me the process, help me to come out of it. So guru is very important. and guru does not necessarily mean it has to be Diksha Guru against Siksha Guru. So, whoever, inspiring you, from whom you can get inspired in your science of Krishna consciousness, you should open your heart and ask, I have this propensity, I have that propensity. In the night, in my mind, when I get up, I'm thinking. It's very important, because we all are ordinary human being. So guhyati, we have to open our heart to someone and tell. Like, I have a mentor, Shiksha Guru. Whenever I get disturbed, I'll call Prabhuji. I'm going through XYZ situation. My mind is saying that I should do it. What you would like me to do? Then he would give some time. Person who has time, he will ask me, tell me everything without any hesitation. I will tell everything. He's like my next thought. I'm going through this thing, that thing, this thing. He will say, you should do like that. Most of the time, he tells me, surrender. For everything I go, his answer has been consistently, it's challenge presented to you by Krishna, go down, touch the feet. Whoever is coming in your way, touch the feet, like that. So what I'm trying to say is that a person who you can open your heart, who can, like doctor can tell, right, what the disease is. Exactly like that. And then he will give the medicine. And if he gives the medicine and we don't take it, then what will happen?
You get
It's not,
sick.
it's not going to work. Yes. So develop a relationship with someone who you can share your heart. And if the person tells you that, Mataji, you need to do this, you do it. That's how we purify. Because our mind trying to find the solution of it based upon our, yes or no, will be very difficult. So have some Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Beej. Develop that faith. You can even open your heart and say, I would like to get your guidance. Can you kindly help me? And whenever that type of thing. And slowly and slowly, that's what Krishna is basically telling here to Arjun. Arjun is thinking that he is qualified for Jnana Yogi, Jnana Yoga. Perfect example. I don't have to go far to make this point clear. Krishna as a spiritual master saying that, no, you are not qualified for Jnana Yoga. You are qualified for Niskam Karma Yoga. Okay, right? The perfect example here, Mataji, right? Manor Prabhu, I'm right, or what do you?
Yes, Prabhu. I mean, you are okay.
No, you can say something. Do you have something?
No, you're correct, Prabhu. I mean, if I am to add something, I would also say 10.10 says, 10.10 says, Tesham satata yuktan, Tesham evam partham aham agyan jam tama nashyami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata.
Yeah.
Of course, it describes the pure devotees, but they get connected to the super soul within the heart, and the super soul
gives them the knowledge through which they can come to him.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can see that.
Yeah. So that means you are saying that one should be able to talk to super soul. Krishna says that Gyan Dipena Bhashyate. I give them that, realized knowledge through which they can come to me. Right. Krishna says that. Yes, Prabhuji. Then continue that. So then where that. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, if we listen to the best friend, he's our best friend. And Prabhupada, if you read that purport of that particular verse, Prabhupada writes that he's the, he's like your constant companion in your heart.
Yes.
Then he'll guide you. He'll constantly reveal you. And then you are like driving a car with a nice companion who is constantly guiding you.
Yeah. But for that to happen, one has to consistently at least perform some serious devotional service, because we'll hear later that, thought comes from intelligence. Thoughts come from our lust, and also thoughts will come from your spiritual development that you have made, right? So intelligence comes from soul, Intelligence comes from your material intelligence, and intelligence comes from desire or lust. So one should be advanced enough to understand that the instinct that coming to me to act, is it coming from my mind? Is it coming from my lust, desire here? Or is it coming from my soul? If it's something, if it's coming from the soul, and if you understand it's coming from the soul, that's the instruction one has to follow. So when I say soul, super soul also. But unless and until we don't make some advanced purification, most of the time our act, our seed of action is coming from just intelligence that we have developed. So you are right, 100% right. But in order for one to have that, we need to perform some serious bhakti over some year, where we have made enough purification that now I can see, okay, this is coming from my soul. Oh no, this is just a mundane intelligence from my experience, or this is something, my desire. It's very nicely spoken. I can give you the reference for that. So we have to understand, but what you said is perfect. Sadhuja Prabhu, anything you have along that line?
No, Prabhuji, I think you are well covered. So those two verses are very nice verses, as Prabhu referred, how Krishna gives the intelligence, like Tesham Sasatrayuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam.
Yeah, dadati buddhi yogam tam tena mamupyantite.
So that
Yeah,
is also
but
very nice.
but those are basically the heart verses, right? The 4 key verses.
Yeah, yes, seed verses.
Seed verses. And it's spoken right in Bhakti Yoga section. So it's for devotee. Can karm kandi, people who are so a man who is engaged in cheating or doing thieving activity or pickpocketer, they would not even, they have such a gross conditioning, such a thick layer, that he would never or she would never hear what's coming from the soul. A devotee, 100% right. Devotee can, when they will ask, my dear Lord, I need guidance here. If there is enough purification, definitely. If desire is there, Krishna will help us. We'll talk about that. Very good point. Santa Mataji, what do you have? That will be the last one. It's 12:12.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So, whatever just now we are discussing, right? If the talk, whatever comes from us, like it might be spiritual and all, right? Like you're saying the maybe whatever the things come out from us, it might be intelligence, it might be spiritual practice. Just now, whatever you said, Prabhuji. So, how do
Yeah.
you know that it is really that is the spiritual thing? Because sometimes no, we may feel that okay, uh, according to the spiritual only, we may feel those things, but how you can say that that is the spiritual thing and whether people will follow that or no, right?
Yeah. So in fact, that, is answer right in this chapter. Krishna, Arjun will ask, after all of this, Arjun will say that, but then why people are doing, sinful activity? Why people are, engaged in sinful activity? Then Krishna will say, oh, Arjun, thoughts comes from the senses, coming from the mind, and it comes from the intelligence. So a person who is extremely engaged in enjoying the senses, their thought is coming from the sense. Like, for example, I remember there was time when I was, smoking cigarette. That I was going to school, and just trying to explain it, although it's being recorded. But what would happen is that sometimes, I'm very busy and I don't buy the cigarette. I would, somehow or other I would miss buying the cigarette. And then I'm sleeping, okay, in the night. And then suddenly I feel like that, oh my gosh, I need cigarette. I just get up, come out, get on my car, go to gas station, buy the car. So what is driving that? What is driving that one? Sense.
Sense.
Yes. It is nothing to do with the soul. Soul will say that, are you crazy? You should not even smoke, right? So likewise, but that time I was not able to see that. But now when I look back, everybody, I'm just giving the example. Some of the activity that we all did at some point in our life, you can go back and look at. Was it driven by my senses? Was it my mind? Or is my intelligence? From where this thing was coming? And Krishna is saying in this chapter, now he will say that anything that's coming from the sense, you can control by using your mind. Anything that's coming from the mind, you can control using by intelligence. We'll talk about that. So, for you to know from where it's coming, need a higher, intelligence. Intelligence can see from where it's coming, but do we have that intelligence or not? That we have to
That's where whatever
work
you're
on.
saying, the guru can help
A
us
spiritual
also.
master, yes. So we have to depend on the higher intelligence. Yes, 100%. That's the application, exactly. So what I said was, in my way, it was application. Somebody who can see beyond all of these things. Yes. So a spiritual master will tell, Jivara Sarupa Nitya Krishna Das, I know you are trying to adhere and stuck at so many places, but I know that your real dharma is that you engage in devotional service. So he will say, you know what, leave everything, engage in devotional service. Don't worry too much. That will give you the real pleasure. So higher intelligence, Prabhu said, Krishna will also help, no doubt about it. We'll study that in 13th chapter, that he is basically the one who is, Paramatma has two features. We'll talk about that. So he sanctions Anumanta, he sanctions. And then what is another one?
Upadashthanamantasya bhakta bhokta maheshwara.
Yeah, so what is the first one?
Upadashta is the overseer.
Updrishta and Anumanta. So he's overseeing everything. And then he's depending on the desire, Anumanta, he sanction. So Updrishta means overseer, Anumanta. So super soul does that. But all of that, is a higher intelligence that one has to cultivate. But as long as we are on the gross level, where our intelligence is up to sense pleasure only, then we cannot understand. Have I talked about that? So here is, there is different degree of consciousness. This is the last statement. The very gross consciousness is consciousness of the karmakandi, which is sensual. They do everything for senses. Higher than that is acting on mind. Higher than that is acting on the platform of soul. Higher than that is acting on the platform of super soul. Higher than that is acting on the platform of Brahman. And highest most is acting on the platform of Bhagwan. Okay, so the living beings are on this scale. Some are very much acting on the stage of gross senses, some on the mind, some on the intelligence, some on the soul, some on the super soul, some on the Brahman. But Krishna says Brahmati Paramameti Bhagwaneti Sabdate. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan. Krishna is saying all these three are basically bona fide. But the highest most is that you should come to the stage of Bhagwan realization. So this is the spectrum. It's not something that I'm saying. Sastra says this is the spectrum. Prabhupada in his purport right. This is the spectrum of the intelligent people. So a person who is grossly engaged in sensual activity, his desire is coming from the senses. What his senses wants, rag and dvesa. Okay, Mataji, does it help?
Yeah, yes,
But you have to elevate, mind, intelligence, come to the stage where you are, hearing the sound of your soul, and then super soul. Okay.
Yes,
But once we
because
can.
when I'm reading the Radha Maharaj biography, right? So.
Which one? The first one or second one?
I think I read second
Journey
one also.
within or
First one also, in the first one also, it's like whenever in his journey, his inner voice says that, okay, go to India.
first one.
That's where he, first one. That's where, so that is the, maybe we can understand that is the talk of spiritual line, right? So where they follow and they did. But of course, depends on the levels, as you mentioned, just wanted to mention.
Yeah, no, some personalities are by birth very elevated. Some of them are very elevated because of their previous life. So like yeah, the person that you were talking about, and he's when he was born, from his previous life he was advanced. He was able to see that that's how he left everything in that early age. He started looking for. So everybody has their previous pious credit also with them, and that also accumulate some degree of intelligence, some degree of mind, some degree of desire for sensual pleasure, all of that together. Okay, thank you. Good questions. Can we adjourn here today?
Yeah. Sorry, Prabhuji. I think I
Yeah.
only asked for 11. Is it okay for all 12 also, Prabhuji? I think last time we mentioned it to 12. I don't know. I only mentioned
Yeah,
for
I
11.
think 11 is working for everybody, right, Prabhu?
Or 12
Yes,
also
Prabhuji.
works.
Huh?
Because
Yes, ma'am.
Lal Prabhuji classes are started. Bhagavatam classes are there, Prabhuji. That's why just I'm asking if it's 12 also works.
So I think for me 11 is perfect because I have other services to do. And I don't know what you all think, Mataji's Prabhuji.
Prabhu, I adjusted my work time for this class till 10 o'clock, so
So
that
11 is good, right?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, whatever works with all of you. I'm
Sorry,
just your
Mataji.
servant. I'm just your servant, and I'll try to serve you whichever way I can. Vanchkalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyaya patitanam pavanebhyo vaisnavebhyo namo namah Shambal Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Danot Pranams, devotee Hari Bol. See you next Saturday, 11
Hare
o'clock.
Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna, Mataji. Hari Hari. Dandovat Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.